Mercedes drops bombshell on Lewis Hamilton. So we're going to be going through that and 3 other stories in today's video. So make sure to like this video, and if you want more Mercedes news content like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel by hitting that red button down below. The first story is Mercedes, and the team speak out on the disqualification. Lewis Hamilton remained upbeat and positive on Sunday following his disqualification from the United States Grand Prix, which took second place away from him. Hamilton was disqualified after the race at the Circuit of the Americas, COTA, after his car failed an inspection. The 7-time world champion's car was one of 4 randomly chosen to be inspected, where it was discovered that the floor of his 14 didn't comply with Formula One's technical regulations. He was disqualified as a result, leaving him 39 points adrift of Sergio Perez in the fight for second in the Drivers' Championship. It wasn't just Hamilton who was disqualified, as Charles Leclerc suffered an identical fate. The Mercedes driver put on a terrific display at the US GP to finish just over 2 seconds behind Max Verstappen, who recovered from 6th on the grid to claim a 15th win of the year. In many ways, the fact Hamilton didn't win the race is somewhat of a blessing to him and the team, as it would have been traumatic for them to have a victory taken from them. Whilst he was disappointed to have been disqualified after fighting so hard at COTA, Hamilton was keen to recognize how much improvement Mercedes had made. It is, of course, disappointing to be disqualified post-race, but that doesn't take away from the progress we've made this weekend, Hamilton said, as reported by The Express. Hamilton's disqualification wasn't his fault in the slightest, with the car simply having been set up lower than it should have been. Setting the car up correctly was a huge challenge, as last weekend was a sprint event, meaning only 1 practice session took place before parc ferme conditions were implemented. Mercedes boss Toto Wolff admitted that the lack of practice and time to set up the car cost the Germans, who simply must take the disqualification on the chin. Setup choices on a sprint weekend are always a challenge with just 1 hour of free practice, and even more so at a bumpy circuit like COTA and running a new package, Wolff said. In the end, all of that doesn't matter. Others got it right where we got it wrong, and there's no wiggle room in the rules. We need to take it on the chin, do the learning, and come back stronger next weekend. Toto Wolff says Mercedes need to take Lewis Hamilton's disqualification from the United States Grand Prix on the chin. Although he believes they can find solace in their strong performance in Austin, Mercedes brought a new floor for the weekend, and it proved effective, especially for Hamilton, who qualified 3rd for both the race and the sprint. The Briton showed a good turn of pace to finish 2nd in both the sprint and the race before he and Leclerc were disqualified from Sunday's event after the planks on their cars were found not to be in compliance with the rules. Speaking after the stewards made their ruling, Wolff said, "We can take a lot of positives from the car performance on Sunday. We hate coming so close to winning and falling short, but this is a circuit where only a few races ago we wouldn't have performed well because of the fast, sweeping corners. The upgrade seems to have made the car happier in those areas, and it is working well. Directionally, it's a very good sign." Turning to the race result and the disqualification, setup choices on a sprint weekend are always a challenge with just 1 hour of free practice, and even more so at a bumpy circuit like COTA and running a new package. In the end, all of that doesn't matter. Others got it right where we got it wrong, and there's no wiggle room in the rules. We need to take it on the chin, do the learning, and come back stronger next weekend. Wolff revealed that Hamilton said he had more confidence as he could now feel the rear of the W14 from the start of Friday's practice, and it showed as he finished just over 2 seconds behind Verstappen at the checkered flag. When asked what he would say to the team before heading to Mexico, Wolff said, "Well, we are all in this together. So I use swear words, but so did everybody else. But we need to take the positives. I hate losing races, and the whole team is in pain. But this is a circuit where a few races ago we wouldn't have performed because it's those fast sweeping corners where we were miserable in Suzuka. We went well here, now we are going to a few tracks that should make the car happier." The second story is Hamilton praises the latest Mercedes upgrade that have made a breakthrough. Lewis Hamilton has praised the double knock-on effect that was brought to the Mercedes W14 in Austin for giving him renewed confidence in the car. The team brought their last major update to their W14 at the United States Grand Prix, which included an updated floor. Hamilton was able to utilize the performance to get close to Max Verstappen in the race, with him finishing 2 seconds off his arch-title rival in what was one of Mercedes' most competitive races of the season. He was later disqualified due to excessive skid block wear on the regulation plank alongside Charles Leclerc, which was discovered in post-race scrutineering. The team has struggled to deliver on expectations at the end of 2022 with the W14, but Hamilton believes they are heading in the right direction for next season. I think the step that we were able to take this weekend has given me a little bit more confidence in the car to throw it into the corner, Hamilton told media, including Racing News 365. So it was positive. I really enjoyed driving around this track. There are still some of the fundamental issues that we're having with the car, which won't change till next year. But it was really positive to feel the steps that were taken. Maybe it was only a 1/10 of a second upgrade, for example, but there was at least a 1/10 of confidence that it gave me. So this helped me, and it's quite an interesting what you see when you do have those. It's like a double knock-on effect. Toto Wolff would prefer if F1 stopped experimenting with sprint races, as the format continues to create polarizing F1 news headlines. The USGP hosted the 5th of 6 scheduled sprint race weekends in 2023. Even before the weekend began, there was speculation about the impact this format would have on teams introducing updated parts. Aston Martin and Haas made the decision to bring significant upgrade packages to COTA despite the risks entailed. It soon became apparent that one practice session was not enough to optimize an upgrade. Both teams started the Sunday race from the pit lane, willing to break parc ferme rules to change their setup to collect some valuable data. In this sense, sprint races are very restrictive. Moreover, from an entertainment perspective, the event offered very little. The Saturday sprint was far less interesting than the actual Grand Prix. This is a fairly common theme, with only wet conditions or crashes making the roughly 20-lap sprints noteworthy. As a result, there were calls among fans to abolish the concept. After almost 3 years, this format has done little besides polarize fans. Not only are the sprints themselves rather unpopular, but they worsen the overall quality of the race weekend. They cheapen the uniqueness of the Sunday race while simultaneously making accompanying sessions less valuable. In response to this, Formula One, seemingly intent on keeping the format, is expected to make further tweaks to the format. These changes could add unnecessary and largely uncalled for alterations. Speaking after last weekend's action in the States, Toto Wolff made his opinion on further tweaks to sprint races clear. "I'm conservative in racing. I'd rather have no sprint races." Race Fans quotes him as saying, "If we start to meddle even more and do reverse grid races, we're going more to a format of junior formulas. Sport would follow entertainment, whilst entertainment should follow sport. The honesty of the stopwatch is what attracts us. Creating artificial gaming around the sprint race on a Saturday is not the way I would favor personally." At this stage, team principals have the largest influence on the format of an F1 race weekend. Fans are largely detached from the decision-making process, given that sprint races are being pushed to increase viewership on Friday and Saturday. This pursuit of boosted numbers might work in the short term, but could have unintended consequences in the long term. As evidenced last weekend, and by extension, the last 2 years, there is no substitute for a lack of competitiveness. Races that see several teams fight for the win, as was the case in COTA, are what make exciting racing. Trying to fabricate entertainment undermines F1's value as a sport, whilst also cheapening the shock factor of the drama that is trying to be manufactured. The upcoming months will show how team principals vote on any suggested changes to sprint races and whether they become more prominent or not. The third story is the significance of Hamilton's now likely doomed 2023 quest. In a different world with just a few decimal points of a millimeter in his favor, Lewis Hamilton would be heading to Formula One's Mexican Grand Prix, chasing down an unlikely achievement. Finishing second to runaway points leader Max Verstappen in both the sprint and Grand Prix in the United States last weekend meant Hamilton's gap to the dominant champion was a whopping 247 points. But the other Red Bull of Sergio Perez was just 19 in front. The big margins are a testament to Verstappen's own performance and, of course, the quality of his Red Bull. But they also tell a simple story about just how far adrift Perez is of what his car has been capable of. And that, combined with Hamilton having a very strong season for the most part, had afforded Hamilton the possibility he might actually snatch second. There have been times this season when that would have been a pipe dream. And given the advantage the Red Bull has had, at least in Verstappen's hands, it has been impressive that Hamilton not only stayed in contention for second, but actually built the momentum to make it a genuine possibility. An Austin disqualification for his Mercedes failing a post-race plank wear check changed things. Now Hamilton sits 39 points adrift of Perez, and the prospect of overhauling him and splitting the Red Bulls seems quite bleak again. Hamilton had chipped away gamely, but with only 4 races left, it will take a big swing. Not impossible, but it's clearly shifted back in Perez's favor. Perez wasn't stunning in Austin, but was more competitive than in recent events, and Red Bull's edge remains, despite Mercedes enjoying an effective upgrade last weekend.